Welcome everybody to our Thursday call. This is typically an in-house private training for all of the brand partners who are here with this team, the Superfood Social team. My name is Christina Amon, and today we are opening it up to share with you what we are so passionate about. 4 years ago, I joined this company, Purium, a network marketing company, because I was looking to build wealth. I was looking for the kind of wealth that would fund the ways that I wanted to show up in the world to contribute to a better community, a better planet, to give back, and to create massive projects. Up until that point, I hadn't found a single way to fund the visions that I had in my mind. And that is exactly why I joined Purium 4 years ago. So I'm super excited to share with you the journey, what I've discovered since then, and share with you other stories of other people's journeys and what they've been able to find within this model. So one of the very first moments I had when I stepped into this, and by the way, welcome to all the new people. If you are checking this out to see if it's for you, I just want to extend a warm welcome. Drop a 1 in the comments if you are part of Purium already, and drop a 2 in the comments if you're here to check it out and see if it resonates for you. Welcome to all of you either way, and welcome to everyone catching the replay. So one of the very first things I did, because like many, if not all of us who step into this, I came in with all of my skepticism about network marketing. I didn't know much about it. All I knew is that it had a stigma. There was something that everybody kind of put it down about. I hadn't really ever looked into it because of that. So when I found that this was the solution that I was looking for, or at least that I was willing to explore it, I had to research. I had to flip over every rock, make sure that it was going to meet my standards for what I was choosing to do with my life, that it was in alignment with my values. And so I just dove in. Drop a 3 in the comments if you've gone down the rabbit holes of like studying network marketing on the internet. You're going to find all kinds of stuff. You're going to find success stories for people who have actually taken it seriously and made it a profession and made it. And then you're also going to find all the naysayers, people who have either tried it and quit for whatever reasons, or had a bad experience. So you're going to find whatever you want. It's all out there. But it's a fascinating study to go down at some of those rabbit holes. So one of the things that I found was Tony Robbins talking about how if this is going to be a success story for you, and this is really my intention for this call, is for you to be generating your success story here. If it's going to be a success, you can't be in it for the money. You have to be in it for what you're planning to do with the money. And that has to be something bigger than you. It has to be for other people and for a purpose that's bigger than you. And that was when I felt like I was in the right place. I realized in that moment, not only have I found a wealth generating method in this industry, but I've also found the community of people who are using wealth to create a better world. That combination of things wasn't anything I had really I'd never stepped into before. So that was when I realized, wow, there's something really special going on here with this industry. And particularly, as you'll find out with this company, this team, we're part of a movement, and you'll hear lots of stories. But that was when I realized there's something really special, and no wonder I haven't understood what it was before, and no wonder people aren't talking about it. It is so cutting edge, and it is so revolutionary, and it is so ancient future, and it is so new earth, and all of those things. So I got on board pretty quickly. I still had to learn all the things and build my belief, because there's so many people out there who don't understand it. There's so many people who have past wounds, and we're going to talk about objections and why later on in the call. But I just wanted to explain a little bit about how I dove in and just recently got to hear some really, really incredible stories of people who have then taken their wealth that they've built with this and have created, one of them has created a school in Africa. One of them has created a micro business movement for women in other countries. And we're going to hear some more stories. But that is where that feeling that I had 4 years ago when I first heard that from Tony Robbins, I was like, oh, yes, that's what it's all about. These stories of how we're changing the socio-economic climate of the world with this particular business model. And I want to gather these stories and really build up that face of network marketing for people to understand what's possible here. So, all right. So who here is excited for your success story to be featured on a call like this, or some other call, or on stage, or, like who here is, drop a 4 in the comments if you're like, I want to be that person that somebody is creating a mastermind, a Zoom call all about, because they heard my story and they were so inspired that it's, creating this right here. Okay, beautiful. So that we're planting that seed right here, right now, today. And, one of the things that one of my mentors, Leslie Zan, all of our mentors who have been studying with her, said on a recent training that some of us leaders are doing was, I hope you're getting really comfortable with wealth. And my whole body was kind of like, ooh, no, I'm not comfortable with wealth yet. I could see that was still a growing edge. If you can relate to that feeling that I experienced, drop a 5. Actually, go ahead and drop us on a scale of 1 to 10. Where are you at your comfort with wealth? And what I realized she was saying, she was like, this is what you are going to have to do if you're here to build. You have to get comfortable. And I think when we then connect wealth building with what it is we're building for, that feeling, that, that jittery feeling in our body then has a place to go. It can expand into that spaciousness of what we're creating. So, take a note of where you're at with that, and just know that, we're all working on gaining more comfort with it. So now I'm just going to drop a few numbers for you of what's possible. So I just kind of looked up network marketing top earners. Go ahead and drop in the comments. Give a guess on what you think the #1 network marketing top earner as of 2021 is earning annually. Just throw some numbers out there, like 650,000, 2 million, 400,000, 1 million, 8 million, 2 million. Okay. So let me see. The #1 top earner is earning 31,200,000 annually. And I looked at this other chart that was a little bit older, and the person at the top was earning 1.2 million monthly at that time. And that was old. It's probably grown since then. I don't know any of these details. I don't, this is just a chart. You can Google it. But for me, it was just kind of opened up that idea of we hear that term, this is an unlimited income stream, right? So I just wanted us to kind of take those jitters and expand it into, look what's possible. Look what these other people have done. The woman who built the school in Africa that Leslie was telling us about, she, on the chart that I looked at, she was on the chart of top earners, is earning, and this is actually last year's chart, was earning $210,000 monthly. So feel into that, you know. And this woman was a teacher. She was a teacher who was slated to be laid off because of the economy. That was her backstory. And pretty much all of these top earners have the backstory of either having hit rock bottom, bankrupt, broke, single parent, you know, all the reasons why they couldn't have, right? All the excuses. So this woman was a teacher who was going to lose her job. And, you know, we all know a teacher's salary is not wealth building. Let's just put it like that. So she found, you know, she knew she was looking for a solution. Like, what am I going to do next? And kind of came upon her company, started her part-time work as she was continuing her full-time work. And by the end of that school year, which is going to be her last school year, she had surpassed her school income and was like, okay, this is what I'm doing. And in 3 to 5 years had built what most people, or what you could call, what would take like 30 to 50 years of career building to make. So yes, exactly. Thank you, Helen. I'm here to expand our bubbles of what's possible. So now I want us all to just like take that in. We've all expanded. We're all like, okay, look what's possible. And all of the people who have done this are just people. Network marketing is the people's wealth building method. That's what we're here to kind of embrace. This is like power to the people. So these are people. Nobody was specialer than us. Nobody had anything going for them different than we have. There's no barrier to entry. There's nothing about how you look, nothing about where you came from, nothing about how much money you have in your pocket or your bank account. None of that, you know, except for that initial, you know, $100 to $300, you know, initial investment is stopping you. But of course, you know, you can borrow, whatever. People find ways. So this other story of this woman who built this micro businesses for women, she was a single mom, 3 kids, small kids, I think 2 to 6 or something like that, was going to her network marketing of events in her car, driving cross country because she couldn't even afford the airfare, sleeping in her car at the events, right? People on this Zoom probably have been slept in your car at those events because you're like, I need to do what it's going to take to get myself to where this isn't my story anymore. So any reason we think we can't do it, we can just eliminate that, because all these people had those same reasons why they couldn't, and they turned it instead into the reason why they needed to. Okay, so we've expanded. We're all capable of earning. This one top earner, lifetime income estimated to date, $135 million. It's like, right? So we've all expanded into that's what's possible. We are the future millionaires of Purium, right? Can we like step into that possibility? Can you guys, like, if you have to shake your body to like expand into that, do what it takes. But yeah, like, okay. So now here's a little exercise, and I want you guys to get active in the chat. Something happened, and we have now been entrusted with the governance of this planet. So you decide how big your mind can conceptually do this, but you are being told there's an unlimited budget to now operate your town, village, community center, city, state, nation, federation of nations, planet, whatever, however big you want to go. And I want you guys to drop into the comments right now, how would you allocate those funds, unlimited budget, to operate governance of whatever scale you've chosen? Is the question clear? You guys got it? Like, just so I'll just start giving you some ideas, and everybody just start putting it into the chat. if we have an unlimited budget, we could have every single person on the planet driving a clean energy vehicle, or all, public transportation be clean energy. We could have inoculation of all the soils all over the planet to clean out toxins and put mycelium through. There's so much technology that could be funded if money was in the right place. Ooh, I'm so excited. The chat is moving faster than I can read, but I want to read some of these. Clean water for all, good quality, toxin-free food for all, housing for all, sustainable, healthy food, saving the ocean, right? Cleaning up all those microplastics. The technology is here, guys. It's all about reallocation of the wealth. Let's be honest. Healing center, community funding for public transportation, interactive schools, learning to cook and grow food, regenerative agriculture, local thriving arts and community resilience, gardens, regenerative ag, education, gardens in all communities, no GMO food, right? Like writing the check to be like, actually, we're going to subsidize all the organic permaculture farmers out there. All regenerative ag biz models, free healthcare, free mental health care, women's support center, spread the wealth. Yes, Steph, go girl, heal the planet, stop oil and gas, stop spraying herbicides and pesticides all over food. Organic food is the only food available. I love it. Clean water for everyone, community building, organic food for all. More art and dance programs, absolutely. End to climate change, theater and the arts, regenerative farming. Notice that these are all the things that get cut by governments, by the way. That's why we're all having to visualize this. So when you have this unlimited or major income, like on these charts here that I just Googled, this is what we have the capability of funding. Funding all the mushroom projects to clean up the plastic, oil spills, et cetera, et cetera. Every town has a community farm doing Ayurvedic protocols for people that want to do it, healing, clean water and soil, better food availability, homes for everyone, economic justice, on and on and on. Like, there's so much. And the climate crisis right there. It's so doable. All the technology is there. This is just about putting the money where it wants to be. So yeah, it goes on and on. You guys can like film this or save it. So beautiful. This is like, who can we send this to? We send it to ourselves. We're going to do this. So this is what's possible. Yeah, reparations for the BIPOC community. Exactly. The disabled community. Oh my gosh, there's so many beautiful visions here. So what I wanted to say too, I actually meant to do this at the beginning of this exercise, is that make sure that you're including in this vision your baseline, that you're also looking at, what do I need to show up? How do I need to be supported so I can show up to be somebody capable of channeling, of accumulating and channeling wealth into these projects? We can't just be the like bleeding heart. You can't be a philanthropist if like you're not taking care of yourself. So I just want to make sure that we've got that piece. I meant to do a little quick, but just do it yourself, just real quick. Like, what does my home need to look like for me to be fully supported? My nervous system, my body, my mind, my kids, just get clear on the material level, what facilities, amenities, home, all that. Just make sure that you're securing root chakra, baseline, and then we can expand into being. And you guys are going to hopefully hear, if I have time, I have so much planned for this call. There's no way I'll pack it all in, but hoping to get to my story, which is a lot to do with this. Okay. So let me get back to my notes here. All right. So that's drop a 10 if you're like, yes, please. Let's hire us to run the world. We want this, right? So let's now take a moment to just look at the reality. So I Googled, because I was like into researching for this call. I also Googled like top philanthropists in the world. Like, what are they doing? And probably a bunch of you have already done this research and know this reality. And I, on some level I did, but just to be reading it, like my jaw dropped. I was like, this isn't philanthropy. This is control. And like, go ahead and do it. Just Google it, but I'll give you like a quick snapshot. These are what people are considering philanthropy is, giving the kind of aid to Africa and other places that the people don't actually want. It's offering the kind of medicines that don't actually help people, or pharmaceutical or agricultural chemicals that people don't actually want. That's not philanthropy, that's control. Or I was reading on there, like Gordon and Betty Moore Foundation, like $200 million to the 30-meter telescope, philanthropy in science and conservation, they called it. I'm like, oh, gee, I just spent the last like 11 years of my life helping to stop that 30-meter telescope from being built in alliance with the Hawaiians, who, for them, that's their most sacred temple, and building it would be ecological and spiritual desecration. So I'm like, this is what is being considered the top philanthropy in our world. Okay, so we saw what we would do, what we will be doing as we are accumulating and building and channeling this wealth. And then we see what's happening. Bill Gates is now the top farmland owner in the United States. And in Forbes magazine just last month, they said it's not exactly clear what he's planning to do with all that farmland. And they even put the words, he quietly snatched up more farmland than any other individual owner. And when asked, what is he planning to do with it, his company didn't respond. So can we just take a breath for a moment and just recognize that part of our mission here is to be disruptors of this cycle, because we have a reality of what is happening on our planet. And whereas, we can tap in as deeply to it as we want. And then we have also a reality of where our planet needs to go. And we're the keepers of that vision. We know, we have that wisdom, like deep in our knowing and in our lineage and in our future, the future generations who are asking for it. And so we know best, we know better, and we have a responsibility. That's the way I see it. And so when I found network marketing, I was already in that place of like, I have to do this thing. And I'm going to get to my story, but I have all these other speakers I want to share. But, for those of you who know my story, there's going to be some more to it. So another deep breath. So we're going to be the disruptors. Drop a 9 if you're here to be a disruptor. If you're willing to be somebody who's here to change the story. It's not easy to be a disruptor. It's way more easy to stay comfortable, play small, go with the flow. If the universe wants me to, like if it happens easily, right? That's easy. To be a disruptor is like taking on a responsibility, but like, I think we've painted a picture here of what we're up against, like we need to change the story of what the top philanthropists, when we Google top philanthropists, what they're actually doing with their money, what we're actually doing with our money. So I set up this call to really, I thought, oh, I'm going to research all the top, network marketing earners and how they're, what all the philanthropy they're doing. And I know they are, because I hear people talk about it all the time, but actually finding the stories wasn't as easy as I thought it would be. So I got to hear 2 of these stories that were Leslie Zann's friends. And I want to bring on a couple of other people who are actually, walking the talk, who have built wealth with Purium in this network marketing industry, and what they're doing with it. So Robin Tala, can you please come off mute and share with us the leader of the army of philanthropists. What have you done and what are you doing and where are you headed with your career here?
Oh my goodness, thank you so much, Christina. Hey, I'm wearing my Purium swag today. I didn't even know. Looks like I need to mirror my screen actually to make it flip the right way. But yeah, what's up, everyone? Nice to see you this morning. So, for those of you who have been around for a while, you've probably heard me say this line at the beginning of one of my speeches. I am raising an army of philanthropists. Together, we are generating the economic power to heal our planet. When I say that, how do you feel? Good, right? And Christina, big props for this call because this is exactly what my big why is. I feel that most of the wealth, not all of it, but most of the wealth that's held by individuals in this country and in this world is being used in ways that I don't necessarily agree with. And I see a lot of ways that we can heal the planet, starting locally and moving to globally. So that's a beautiful vision, and it's definitely part of what keeps me going, for sure. But after a little while, I realized, I can't just keep holding this vision out there somewhere and waiting for that to happen. I need to make this real now. And so what I started doing was to start giving to causes that I believe in. And for me, that started out with, number one, progressive politicians that are transforming the policies of our country. And the number one for me was Bernie, but people like AOC and other people who are standing up for our environment and for civil rights and for a more fair economy, etc. And so I just started donating to them monthly, and it started small, $3 a month, $10 a month. And then I found other organizations. There's an organization called Earth Justice, and they are a law firm for the earth. They are a collection of lawyers that bring lawsuits in order to protect bee populations or whales or all sorts of things. So I started giving monthly to Earth Justice. And I just kept picking organizations as I felt more and more that I could give. And it's this funny thing where, when I just give $3 a month, it doesn't seem like anything, right? It's just you spend that much in the drop of the hat without even thinking about it. But then after month, year after year, that starts building up, the total donations, the total tithing that I've done, because I'm so grateful to be privileged enough to have access to this amazing system and to be living a life where I am generally very comfortable. And so I just want to, no matter that I haven't met my financial goals yet, I still have some debt that I'm addressing. I'm not all the way to where I want to be, but I'm going to give anyway. I'm going to keep giving anyway, because the truth is, if I'm out with a friend, I'm going to drop, $5 to $8 on a latte without thinking about it because I feel like it, right? Or I'm going to, go out, and do to some show or on a whaleboat or whatever. So, so I decided to really make that a part of my monthly budget. And so I just let that go for a long time, set up recurring donations that I don't really notice, that just come out of my account, that are on different days of the month. So it just sort of trickles out to these organizations. And then also another thing that I've done is whenever a friend has a fundraiser online for especially medical expenses, but also other life crises or big dream projects, Indiegogos and Kickstarters, across the board, I give to every fundraiser that I see, every Facebook fundraiser, every friend's fundraiser. People have, if they have the bravery and the courage to put themselves out there and ask to be supported, then I want to support that because I think that's a good thing to do. And so I give to pretty much, occasionally there's one I see that I'm just nah. But for the most part, they're all very worthy causes. So I give to every single one, even if I'm looking at my monthly budget and I'm feeling a little tight. I still give, because what I've learned from multiple leaders is that when you give, you get into a current of abundance, and it comes back as well. Currency, it's a currency. So so I give every time, and then also some of us have worked with an amazing trainer named Ray Higdon, and he does this thing called Wealth Wednesday, where he encourages everyone to go out and give anonymously. So he says, don't give to a cause that you agree with, because that's still associated with some sort of ego with yourself, which is fine in a certain area of your brain. But he encourages you to give with no attachment, with no consequence. He says, give to someone you do not know, and don't give to a cause that you care about. This is simply about the act of giving, like without condition. And so one of the things that he asks people to do is to go out and go to a grocery store and like slip a $20 bill in a diaper package, so that when someone gets that diaper, those diapers, they open it up and there's an extra 20 for them. And you can put a little note that's like, Wealth Wednesday or Giving Tuesday or whatever, hashtag, and like, I hope this helps you, or to pay for the person behind you on the toll booth, or the coffee behind you, or whatever, so I make a habit of doing that. So I know you have a lot to cover, Christina, so I'll keep it quick. So about 6 months ago, I decided to tally up everything like that I'd given. I went onto Act Blue and like got all my political contributions like totaled, and went to my PayPal and looked up all my Earth Justice contributions, and tried to figure out like Indiegogo, Kickstarter, total it all up. And I found out that I've given over $3,000 and maybe more. And that felt really, really good. I'm like, that is philanthropy right there. I'm making it happen. So that is something I have done, and I would like to make that way more. And a vision I have, and this is something that I've talked a little bit in our leadership group about, but something that once I'm stabilized at multiple star crown, what I would really like to do is create a foundation that is a trust for people who are making long-term residual income from network marketing in multiple companies, not just Purium, where people can tithe to that trust, and then that trust elects a board of directors every year who would make decisions about where to tithe that money to. So ideally, this would be thousands of people who are all giving into this trust that's managing, millions of dollars or billions of dollars. And then every year we're choosing projects to fund to make the world a better place. So that's my long-term vision of really helping leverage this business model of ethical network marketing, residual income, into big planet-changing, earth-saving, society-shifting, beautiful, beneficial change.
Love it. Thank you so much for sharing. Who's inspired? Drop an 8 for abundance if you're like, yes, that's so amazing. And I want to be that. And, if I remember when I was in a place where I would get asked, or I would see it, GoFundMe or somebody, and I was just, the thought of giving was so stressful because I wasn't even able to meet my own needs at that point. So, if you can relate to that feeling, whether you have been there or you're there now, like drop a 5 if you're just like, oh my gosh, I wish I was in a place where giving is easy. And now I am like Tala. I'm like, oh, great, I can give to that. Great, I can give to that. And it feels so good to have that currency flow in that same way of it being, it's currency. It's supposed to be moving. And so for somebody to be able to say, hey, like my good friends, they lost their entire house, music recording studio, all their instruments, their whole herbal apothecary, everything in the Santa Cruz fires. I'm like, oh, and they're, have an immediate, urgent GoFundMe. I'm like, absolutely, I can help out with that. That's how the village works. That wasn't something I was able to do before. And there's been many, many other ways I've been able to donate before. And this has really been the first year I've been in that situation. All right, next, I want to bring on Rachel Balinsat, who has another amazing story of what she's been doing with her Purium wealth. So this is a woman who was homeless when she started her Purium career, living in her car for 4 months, doing whatever she needed to do to make it work. And yeah, sis, you here to share with what you've been able to create and who you've been able to impact?
Thank you, love. Hi, so happy to be here.
Yay.
Wow, well, this is such a beautiful call, and I'm really, really appreciating just learning so much, even just from hearing your shares. And it's interesting, when I first got started, my big, I guess I would say heroes was like Brangelina, right? I thought, God, they've adopted all these kids and they've done all these amazing things, and I guess you just have to be like a gazillionaire to do all that. And I wish that I could, be doing all that. And I think it was when I hit Green Diamond that I realized, wow, it suddenly all became possible. Like, oh my gosh, you mean this is actually possible? Like, I can make money with this company. And that's when it just started to be really feasible. And I started thinking, whoa, so if there's no end to ranking, like if you can just keep ranking and there's not really any limit to it, and I suppose one of these days I can donate like Brangelina, and that can be a thing. And so, it was first I had to get myself my, my oxygen tank. I had to, give myself the oxygen mask first. And so that's what I did. Obviously, as you know, living in my car, I spent months uh, just working my business from my car, which is great. Location freedom. That's one of the beautiful things about this. And one of my big whys became to support my family in the Philippines. And what had happened was I had lost both my parents my first year of Purium. I lost my mother right before I joined, and then I lost my father. And I lost my roommate as well, died. And then also had a huge breakup where, somebody I was in love with broke up with me. And so that was just what happened. And long story short is it was a really hard year. And Purium became the light of like, wow, this is something I can do that helps people. This is something that is going to help me, that is actually helping me, but also it's giving me a purpose where I can help people, both with health, which was, I was able to kind of live this legacy of helping people. I wasn't able to save my dad from diabetes, but all of a sudden I was able to offer support for other people to improve their lives through nutrition. And then over time, within about a year, I was able to travel to the Philippines. And for the first time ever, after my father died, I was able to meet my brother and sister who I'd never met before. And my sister had always in her Facebook pages had no teeth. And I'd never been able to speak to her because she didn't speak English. My family didn't speak English. So she had no teeth. I didn't know that, but she just was never smiling. And it wasn't until I got there that I met them and realized, oh my gosh, it's just that they're malnutrition. And they were all living in this really just very, very incredibly impoverished situation. There was a well, and they all washed their hands at the well. They all bathed at the well. They washed their dishes at the well, and we sat around the well quite a bit. The well was kind of like a centerpiece. And when I would wash in the well, they all would like take pictures and thought that was really fun. So it was part of the party. They also had this kitchen that was all sticks, and there was a big plastic, like a banner that they had wrapped around these sticks, and there was a fire underneath. That's what they, kept a fire burning, and that's how they would do their cooking. And this was all just so bizarre to me that I was actually like, how did I not know about this situation? How did I not know? I knew my father was sending money, but it was kind of before Facebook and all that stuff. And I didn't really know what was going on until I got there and realized, wow, these people need me. Like, I really need to somehow figure out how can I empower them? And the first thing I did was when I went and visited, I was able to afford, thanks to my Purium income, I was able to afford to get my sister teeth. And she was so happy. She could first, she was like, no, it's too much, it's too much. But to be able to give her teeth, all of a sudden she said, oh my gosh, I can smile now. I can get a job. Like, that simple of a thing, just to be able to empower somebody with teeth, was something that enabled her to feel like she could work and that she could get hired. And she was just smiling. And then her Facebook picture suddenly was a picture of her smiling. And that was such a huge shift. And I got my brother teeth as well. But then eventually I was able to start to help them build businesses. And my one brother was able to kind of create he created a restaurant in his garage, which was a pretty big deal back then. You know, it's like you can, you know, it's still a big deal in the Philippines. So he was actually able to create a restaurant in his garage. My sister said, I really want a nail salon. So we started building on a nail salon to the front of her house so that she could create, you know, so we were creating businesses. And then eventually got to a point where everyone in the family was asking me for things, but I was really wanting to figure out how to empower my family rather than just like giving to them monthly and just paying for everything. It's like, how can I empower them? And I was able to help my one nephew. His big dream was, I want to go to Korea and work in a factory. That was his huge dream, was like, I'm going to get to Korea and I'm going to work in a factory. And I was like, wow, like this is so different than, you know, like their idea of glamour and big was just like, was so different from what I'd experienced growing up. And so I put him through college. And then my other niece wanted to go to college, so she got to go to college. And then my other niece was in college, and then she went through college. So I was able to help three of these kids, my brother and sister's kids, my two brothers' kids, actually, they were my brother's kids. My two brothers' kids helped them, put them through college. So this has been one of the biggest rewards of my life, to be able to contribute to my father. I'm losing him. My father was such a dear man, and I was devastated when he died, and felt so much compassion, so much desire to help my family. I've been raised always we were always giving money to the Philippines when I was little. That was like a huge part of my lifestyle, was just take whatever you don't want and whatever you don't need and just take it. I gave my Atari games to the Philippines. I remember giving all kinds of things to the Philippines. Sometimes a little bit before I was ready, my dad would be like, let's get rid of that. You're going to give it to the Philippines. And we'd be like sending these big boxes of things to the Philippines. But I never knew that at this point in my life, my father, you know, when my father died, he kind of thought I had wasted my life, like he never did his life. And it's great to know that in his name, as he's died, that I can say, well, you know, he passed on the Balinsat blood, and I was able to use that opportunity and take his health story and help people with transformations and health, and with that, through his legacy, be able to pass that on, whatever I can, to my family and continue to support them in the Philippines. So, and for that, I just want to thank all of you. For supporting me in that, and all of those of you who are in my downline, that you've contributed to that what you see, what I've given has come from all of you. And this is the beauty of synergy and teamwork, is that we support each other's dreams and we make it all happen. So thank you, Christina, for giving me the opportunity to share that.
Oh my gosh, so beautiful. Thank you so much, Rachel, for sharing that story every time. All right, you're getting so much love in the comments. That's amazing. So I'm actually going to insert my story in with this sequence here. These Tala and Rachel are also crowns within this team, and it's a certain level. You know, all of us like six-figure earners in this company, and you're hearing like what we've been able to start to create with this. And I say start because really I think we're all getting started. That's truly how I feel. I'm going to share some of my story that probably nobody else has heard. Many of you might know my basic story, which is my husband and I really had a vision of creating the same vision so many people have: get land, grow food, have community, regenerate the soil, have healing spaces, you know, help people heal, help the land heal, right? And we realized this is really expensive. We needed money. I found Purium. Now we're able to do it. That's kind of the short version of my story. Still amazing. When I first moved onto that land, I literally had this dream. The land was just overflowing with abundance. Everything was planted up. There was traditional Hawaiian taro patches throughout the land with water directed in this beautiful watering system that I think might have been an ancient technology that I've never even seen. But so the whole land planted up in, we have 27 acres, which to me is a miracle. Bill Gates has 27,000 acres. So, you know, we're going neck and neck here. But anyhow, I had this dream that the land was just planted up in abundance. And it was kind of one of these like apocalyptic dreams where, out in here in Hawaii on a small island, we have 85% of our food supply is shipped in on boats. And so the classic, like, apocalyptic scenario is like the boats stop running, the boats stop coming, and there's no more like toilet paper or like Spam, right? So in my dream, it was just kind of known, like that's where we're at. And everybody in the surrounding area was just coming onto the land, like climbing over the fences. And even though people were hungry and there was desperation, I didn't feel any fear or protection. I was like, great, we're ready for you. We have the abundance, it's here. And that vision has really carried me through all of, like, it's not easy to build a farm. It's not easy to raise the money. It's not easy to do this business. It's simple, but not easy. But a vision like that, where I know that growing food and herbal medicine is real. Like, I know this is needed. That's never going to go away. And to know that that's a value has just kept me going all along. So before we found Purium, my husband's solution, because we were really trying to figure out how to make this work. It is expensive to develop land. And I know how many people have that vision, all the infrastructure, the taxes, all of it. So he and his brother decided to open up the local general store. This was a plantation general store that had been in operation for over 100 years and was serving the plantation community of where we lived, which is the majority of the people around us at the time still were of the either worked in the sugarcane plantation days or were descendants of. And so that culture is still embedded in our whole community of this like outside kind of bigger entity coming in and providing everything, but also controlling everything. And so when we came in here, we were kind of like in between these cultures of where we see it going, where we revive a local economy. It's not so impoverished, and because people didn't know what to do when the plantation closed down, they were like, what do we do now? So we're moving in. So he came in, they revived this general store. And the locals were very clear. They're like, we hope you're not opening a health food store. We're like, oh yeah, no health food store here. So it was clear that, going back to what people want, not just what you want. It's a very rural area. It's the only store, right? Not health food store. So we sold Spam, we sell Spam, cigarettes, alcohol, GMO food. Like, the cognitive dissonance was real. And what we also realized was that, like many brick and mortar models, it isn't necessarily a wealth generating. We started it thinking like, oh, we'll have this income and it'll build the farm. I had a business person pull me aside once and break it down and say, you are operating a community center. And this is at a time where we could hardly make ends meet, let alone develop the farm, let alone operate a community center. My husband was gone 16-hour days. We hardly ever saw him 6 days a week. We weren't bringing home the money. And to hear that all of that was just going to a community center. Now, people who live there love it. They have a place to come. The local economy is being revived. We've single-handedly raised the property values of the whole area because of this one store. It was a bar. It was a music venue before COVID. People can come and eat all the food that they love to eat. We don't eat any of the food there. Little secret, because it's GMO. There's some mixed in there, and we have a longer term vision. But the heartbreak that I experienced in that moment of realizing that everything we were doing was all a community service and wasn't ever gonna get us anywhere. And we were financially strapped and we were way in debt. And I just felt like my life is a complete nightmare in this moment. So fast forward to now. We're getting the farm built. Our long-term vision is to grow organic food for that store, same stores and the restaurant, and just whether or not people signed up to eat organic, it's just going to be organic, you know? And it may always be a community center. And now I'm okay with that. It's not a nightmare. That's okay. I have the income from Purium to where, so be it. I think Allison's on this call. She walked in and she was like, she started crying. She was like, this is like Cheers. This is like where everybody knows your name. Like the place is amazing. It is a center of aloha. It is the gathering place. It's brought people of all walks of life together. It's beautiful. Once I've released it from being what we needed to make money, I can now philanthropically be like, great, we can fund a community center. We don't need it to fund our family life and our visions. And that was a huge, huge shift. And I didn't even realize that until I prepared for this call, when I was like, oh, gee, I wonder what my future philanthropy is going to be. And I was like, oh my gosh, I already got into my philanthropy, but it was a nightmare because I wasn't set up to be in a philanthropic place. So between the store and the farm, that's a lot of our focus, and being able to give, you know, easily when other things come up from this income stream is a gift beyond, you know, it's beyond. I would have never imagined it. And like I said, we're all just getting started. So how does this all work? How do we grow this? How does it build? Why is this model so amazing? I want to bring on Erica Kloster to tell a story that I think illustrates how this model works so beautifully. Erica, can you tell us the story of the candles? Are you here, Mama?
Yes, thank you for asking me to share. I'm still like reeling in the vibration of your story, and this is such a beautiful call. So I'm gonna talk about something that really truly inspired me when I first, I think, attended a huge live event with our company owner, Dave Sandoval. And what he said was that it was of a time when he went into, I think it was Japan, and he was visiting a huge stadium of people, and he was asked to speak. And when he went up, there was a podium in front of him, and he had a little candle, and he asked it to be lit. And he expressed to this huge stadium full of audience, he said, this candle is representative of my light and my wisdom and the gifts that I have to share with the world. He said, if I wanted to go around and hand each of you a candle and light all of your candles, I could never reach everyone before my candle would burn out. But he said, if I turn around and I light like the 3 people or the 5 people closest to me, their candles, and I ask everyone to reach around and light the candles of the people nearest to them, that's where we can really light up the whole world with what we have to share in just a short period of time. And this was his analogy of really what the network marketing model, the blessing that we have with network marketing really can deliver to the world, is this greater reach, this multiplication effect of sharing upon sharing. And it transformed his whole life from being the guy 30 years ago that was single-handedly trying to go around and share wheatgrass juice with everyone. And he could only get so far. He could only reach so many people, and he could only change so many lives. But when he realized that by us being brave enough to join this movement, join this mission, and share our gifts, our story, our inner light, that's where we can really like amplify what we're doing and reach the masses.
I love that story so much. Thank you so much for sharing that. And that's, you know, just bring that vision into you. And, you know, I could talk about network marketing for a year straight. I have 5 minutes left to cover what I had hoped, so we'll just have to do another call on it, and you'll have to go and dive in and do your own research. But I want to bring on one more share, and this is really going back to all of our visions. So Erica just talked about how we can light up the world with this model. And when that's going to look like is going back to the beginning of the call, when we all put our visions of like what we would do. That's us lighting up the world, right? This is what we want to see happen. Now, do you think there are some forces at work that don't want that to happen? Do you think there's some people who don't stand to profit as much as they're currently profiting if the people really rose up and claimed that kind of power and sovereignty and made that kind of change on the planet? I wonder, could there possibly be some forces at work that don't want people to understand how freaking amazing network marketing is? Is that possible? Well, I don't know. I'm not going to go into conspiracy theories, but there are many, many, many reasons why people think there's something wrong with it, when in fact, if we just break it down to its core, network marketing is the most benevolent business model. It is the most accessible business model for real people of any background to build real wealth. Like I said, I could talk about this on and on and on, but there are a few reasons why some people don't do it right. They come from a place of lack instead of a place of real connection and real service. That's when it's done right. Network marketing is exquisite, and it can be done wrong, just like anything can be done wrong. So I want to bring on a story of somebody who's doing it right, and remind us of how possible this is. This is one of Erica Kloster's brand new brand partners who just hit Fast Start Consultant. Michaela, I would love to congratulate you and bring you on and have you just share in, briefly in 3 minutes. Why are you doing this? Why did you go for Fast Start? What's working for you? And what's your outlook for your future? And also, where are you headed right now? Thanks for being here, girl. Congrats.
Hello, I'm Michaela, and I'm actually headed to Costa Rica tomorrow. So we've been kind of running around today and packing everything to head there. And we normally live in British Columbia in Vancouver. And finally, after a year, we're able to come home and see my family with all the border closures and everything. So we started actually a personal training company through the pandemic, and realized from not being allowed to go anywhere and not being able to use the gyms and such that my partner and I, we really leveraged that time together to help each other become stronger. And while we watched a lot of our friends who we came from the performing arts industry, we kind of watched our careers dissipate overnight. And we watched a lot of our friends spiral into like a depression, because that was, it's not something that's possible right now with everything going on. And we decided at the start that we were going to come out of this stronger, and no matter what it took or how hard it got. So flash forward to the end of last year, and we really built up our client base, but we realized that two things were kind of missing for us, and I'll try to get this as fast as I can, but a lot of people ask where to get protein. And a lot of people are just really struggling nutritionally, especially being in a lockdown and being around food 24/7 and being around the refrigerator all the time. And so a combination of really needing to be nourished from the inside out. And, we got our order of protein powder from the company that we were ordering from at the time, and it came in all these plastic tubs. And we got challenged at the time that we really needed to stop our plastic use, if not, at least reduce it as much as we can. And we got all those plastic containers, and we were like, oh my gosh, we just can't do this to the planet. And when you find out that only 8% of plastic is actually recycled every single year, even if you're throwing it in the bin and you're doing the right thing, trying to recycle it, it is so expensive to recycle plastic that most of the time it doesn't even get recycled. And then we were looking at, videos of the ocean and where all that plastic ends up, and just the straws of the sea turtles. But long story short, we were like, we have to change. Like we can't keep sharing something that we know is hurting the environment, number one. And like all of our clients were asking us, well, where should we get protein powder? And then this just like fell into my lap at the right time, like at a time that we were like, we have to find something that's sustainable, something that is completely organic, something that truly nourishes the body from the inside out and isn't just about calories or about macros or about other things. And probably the number one thing that we hear from people besides money is, oh, I don't have time to work out. And, if we can create more space in our life, whether it's money or wanting to be with our family more or wanting to donate to the causes we want to, we found that that is the most important thing that we need to be able to overcome. And if adding another workout or adding something else into their life isn't what's going to serve them at the time, then like what is really going to nourish them and give them energy and give them the things that they need to be able to ultimately just live the life that they want to live. And I always joked, I sound like a hippie to everyone else, but I feel like I finally fit in here. I just fully believe, and I've learned this for myself and everyone, that like when you heal yourself and you are confident in who you are and you find that light within you and you find that purpose and you feel like you have a purpose in the world, that just, it radiates and it infects the people around you in a good way. And that spreads to the people around them. And that's just really our mission, that we found that when we heal ourselves and when our clients heal themselves, then they step into the world just as this most like a beautiful version of themselves that radiates, and they're living the life they want to live instead of living this, life that they know that they're meant for something more, or living a life they feel is expected of them, or they can't go chase that thing they really want to do because they don't feel good in their skin or they don't feel like they're worthy of it. So that is just the ultimate mission that we're trying to serve and how we want to impact the community around us. So it was just so easy to share something that we could get behind so easily. And thank you to Christina and to Erica, and my mentor's not here today, Marissa, but she's just a beautiful, bright light, that it just made it so easy to pour into the people around us, because we really have such a beautiful thing to give, and just the nourishment in us, because we know there's so much bad diet advice out there that just needs to go and it's so damaging, and it's people come to us having learned the craziest things. They're like, oh my gosh. But we really have a mission to make the world a more beautiful place through how we see ourselves and how we radiate as well. And I think just being yourself and just sharing something you're so passionate about is what it all comes back to. So thank you for letting me share. And I'm excited to get to all you, get to know you more.
Yes. You really just illustrated how our mission itself is philanthropy. And that is such a perfect way to end the call. And because of you being on this mission to help people feel better, to help humanity in the way, which is the mission of the company, you jumped right on board with all of the promotions to get yourself into momentum, to hit that fast start double bonus right away. You're enrolling people left and right. You're going public on your social media and grabbing those widen your reach free points. You almost hit UBT last week. You're probably going to hit it this week. Like you're going for it because you're so lit up, Drop a 9 in the comments if you can feel Michaela's flame and how much she's just going and illuminating everybody around her with that contagious passion. So thank you so much, sister. And I just want to add that part of her why is to be able to live, at least, if not full-time, at least part-time in Costa Rica and have that location freedom and time freedom. And I definitely see that happening for you, and have such a great trip. And thank you everybody who has been on this call and contributed in all the different ways and in the chat. We are really doing something super revolutionary here, and never forget it. And if you ever come across anyone who has doubts about network marketing, build up your own belief. The stories, the proof is out there. I had like a whole nother multiple hours of content to share with you, but you can find it all out there on the internet or reach up to your mentors. It's amazing what we're creating here. And the only thing stopping anyone here from claiming all of what we just talked about today is ourselves. So it's just believing that we're capable and worthy of being that servant leader, and then just going out and grabbing it. So I love you all. Thank you so much for being here. And if you want to save the chat, you can hit the 3 dots here and hit save chat, and it'll go to your documents under Zoom, and we can help remember what we're all creating. One day we'll look back. Remember when we were just talking about it? Yay. All right. I love you guys. Have a great day.